listen to the sound of its engine. The U.S. Air Force is moving quickly to prove its new F-15s can jam enemy radars. The capability is critical. The flying branch could count on a fleet of factory-fresh F-15EX, packing high-tech Eagle passive, active warning survivability system jammers, not only to protect themselves, but to protect other fighters as well. In a sense, the Boeing-made F-15EX Eagle Run-2 might end up being more than just a fighter. It could double as an escort jammer, belatedly replacing the EF-111 that the USAF retired without replacement back in 1998. The two twin-engine F-15EX, which belonged to the 85th and 40th Test and Evaluation Squadrons at Eglin Air Force Base in Florida, last week traveled to Nellis Air Force Base in Nevada for realistic tests. The F-15EX are spending a week flying mock combat sorties alongside older F-15E Strike Eagle ground attack fighters and even older F-15C Eagle air-to-air fighters. The big thing we're trying to take away is really showing the differences between the EX and the C model, said Madge. Kevin Hand, an F-15EX test pilot. One of the big differences, Hand noted, is that the EX with its EPOS, a high-tech jammer with 360-degree coverage, made by BAE Systems, stands a fighting chance of spoofing the latest air defense radars, whereas older Eagles with their older jammers are much more vulnerable. The 150 or so F-15EX the Air Force wants to buy will roll out of the St. Louis factory with EPOS installed. The flying branch also is backfitting the new jammer to its 220 or so F-15Es. The approximate Hand emphasized the new jammer's ability to protect the plane carrying it. That's going to give us the ability to essentially go into some of these more advanced threats or aerial denial kind of situations, where we can now self-protect and self-jam our way through. But the Air Force also has tested EPOS-equipped F-15s as escort jammers. Just a few days after Boeing delivered the second F-15EX test plane, the two Eagle Remingtons, in early May flew to Joint Base Elmendorf-Richardson in Alaska for a sprawling aerial war game called Northern Edge 2021. The new Eagles aimed their EPOS at simulated enemy defenses in order to help F-35 sneak past. We're trying to figure out how we can benefit each other so that we can get closer to the adversary, said Madge. Scott Porchu, an F-35 test pilot. These airplanes work in concert with each other, said Madge. Aaron Ashkenazi, commander of the 85th Test and Evaluation Squadron's F-15 Division. It's unclear just how well EPOS worked at Northern Edge. The details undoubtedly are secret, but it's a big step for the Air Force even to test the new jammer on its newest fighter. For more than 20 years, the flying branch more or less has let the other services handle frontline electronic warfare. After the Cold War, the U.S. military moved quickly to shrink its jamming force, where before the Air Force, Navy, and Marines Corps all had their own tactical jamming plans. The Pentagon directed the Air Force to retire all 40 or so TF-111s and lean on the Navy and Marines' roughly 200 EA, 6BS for frontline electronic warfare. Starting a decade later, the Navy gradually replaced the EA-6B with the EA-18G, which borrows the airframe of the F/A-18E/F fighter. The Marines finally retired their own weary EA-6BS without replacement back in 2019 that left the 150 or so EA-18GS as America's only tactical jamming planes. But with Chinese and Russian radars getting better by the year, the EA-18GS can't handle the jamming mission by themselves. The Air Force concluded in a 2018 study. Air Force planes need to be able to protect themselves and each other. The Air Force wouldn't depend on the F-15EX alone for frontline jamming. The service also is ripping the powerful jammers from its 14 propeller-driven EC-130HS, 9 of which still are flying, and installing the same hardware on 11 new EC-37B jets, which are faster and thus more survivable. However, the reality of military acquisitions and combat capability is far more nuanced than a side-by-side tale of the tape might represent. While the F-15EX may indeed cost more per airframe than the latest batch of F-35s, it may actually be the savvier purchase. The F-35 is intended to have an operational lifespan of around 8,000 hours, whereas each F-15EX is expected to last 20,000. In other words, in order to fly the same number of hours as an F-15EX, the Air Force would need to purchase not one, but 3 F-35s. That price reduction is further bolstered by operational costs. Keeping a high-performance fighter in tip-top shape is expensive and time-consuming. But in that portion of the ledger, the F-15EX once again shines. The Air Force expects to spend around $29,000 for every hour the F-15EX is in the air, far cheaper than the F-35's figures, recorded in 2018 of around $44,000 per hour. Now let's do a bit of back-of-the-envelope math to assess how much these aircraft will actually cost in a fight. The F-15EX costs $87.7 million per aircraft and can fly for up to 20,000 hours at a cost of $29,000 per hour. So $29,000 per hour x 20,000 hours plus $87.7 million for the aircraft comes out to a pretty serious $667.7 million. At the end of this video, I hope you do not forget to like and subscribe, and do not forget to submit to the description to see the sources of this video. Thank you.